short of prestigious commissions. Business was good, and he was not the type to go lightly into a new project. So when the two young engineers came to him with their idea for a gigantic tower, his reaction was swift and resolute.
Eiffel saw the drawing and said straight away, "I'm not interested." Just like that. "I'm not interested. But I want you to work on it."
It would attract the crowds. For an idea was forming in his mind. He wanted to present a project for an event which would take place in Paris in 4 years' time and which would have a global impact. An event which was in all the papers just a few days before.
Yesterday morning, the government decided that a universal exhibition would open in Paris in 1889 to commemorate the centenary of the French Revolution.
Universal exhibitions were highly prestigious global events where the latest technical innovations were displayed. And during this period, a wealth of such innovations had appeared. The electric locomotive, the first telephones, not to mention the first typewriters, and photography. It would be a huge communication exercise for the country, its industries, and its reliability. But Eiffel knew, in order to be part of the exhibition, he would need something spectacular. Each exhibition had been defined by a monument able to thrill the world. For in the 1851 exhibition in London, the British had scored high with the Crystal Palace, a spectacular 40-meter-high structure made of glass and cast iron, a triumph of its time. The Paris edition of 1878 saw the construction of the monumental Trocadero Palace, a huge building which housed the capital's largest concert hall. So for the forthcoming 1889 exhibition, something truly spectacular would be required.
What was at stake? The ability to show the world that France was a global leader, that French science and technology were among the best in the world.
The reason that Eiffel was unconvinced by his engineer's project was that he did not see how their projected tower would attract the crowds and make an impression. Their plans did not even include a staircase so that people could take in the view from the top. Aesthetically, it left a lot to be desired. For Coquelin and Nouguier, it was back to the drawing board. They recruited a third man, Stéphane Sauvestre, who was a friend of the business and an architect of some renown. He agreed to work on his associate's pylon and completely transformed it. He designed arches between the feet, giving it a more harmonious look. But the main thing he did was to turn the pylon into a leisure facility. Visitors would be able to go up it. There were to be 3 stories with restaurants and reception rooms. And at the summit, there would be a dome with an incredible view and a beacon to light up the city. It would be a tower like no other, and Parisians would probably even be willing to pay to get in. Their boss started to take an interest. He signed his name at the bottom of the sketch and offered the engineers a deal. Émile Nouguier and Maurice Coquelin agreed to cede all rights to the project to Gustave Eiffel. In return, they were offered a tidy sum, 1% each of the costs of the work if the tower was completed. This meant that each could potentially earn several 100,000 francs, a small fortune. But first, they would have to be victorious at the Universal Exhibition. And Gustave Eiffel was far from being the only challenger. The city's greatest architects would also be competing. One of them stood out as a very serious opponent. His offices were just a few kilometers from Eiffel's workshop in the heart of Paris. He was none other than Jules Bordet. It was he who had built the Trocadero Palace for the previous exhibition of 1878.
He was a star among engineers and architects. One of the most famous French architects of the period.
Bordet's response to Gustave Eiffel's Iron Tower
too, but Tesla was interested in engineering. When he contracted cholera as a teen and nearly died, his father promised to send him to engineering school if he survived, and miraculously,